Hello, welcome to the second episode of Alliance of the Golden Witch. I hope you all are doing good. Today's gonna be a little shorter than usual because my back hurts from sitting down a little bit because my chair, my desk chair, is trash. So I'm gonna be nice to myself and not push it. But aside from that, doing good. Very excited for this episode. As all, I say that every week. And it hasn't been a lie yet. And it won't be, ever. Because I love this series. And I hope you do too. So we're gonna dive right in. I forgot that I ended on a new character, and now I have to decide on a voice. Oops. Yeah, I'm planning on getting a better chair, and then from then on it'll be much easier to sit here and read for a while. But I'm okay. Rumor has it, Ange-chan, that you jumped off the top of a skyscraper. The groupies were getting annoying, so I thought I'd give them the slip. Ange and an old gentleman wearing an expensive suit were alone in a massive, modern conference room. We just dove right in, right? I got a little excited. I forgot about our content warnings. The content warning: child abuse, bullying, character deaths, detailed descriptions of gore and body horror, mentions of suicide, misogyny, and awkward skeeviness from teenage boy characters. Again, I added the bullying because it's quite prevalent throughout most of this arc that we're playing, and it can get quite intense. So it might seem like a no big deal sort of thing, but yeah. As always, look after yourself if any of this stuff isn't your jam. You know, it's totally fine to not watch and to go do something that you do enjoy. And let's see. Because normally I have like a whole start of episode thing. Little checklist mentally. Ah. Actually, Lulu, that reminds me. Normally I do a recap, don't I? I can do a recap of the beginning of 4 without going into what happened at the end of 3. Because you missed some of 4, right? No, some of 3, and then you watched some of 4. So I think you should be able to follow it. But yes, at the beginning of episode 4, Alliance of the Golden Witch, arc 4 I should say really, we opened on Beatrice talking to Ronove about Battler, saying like, oh, you know, he's so sad and stuff. He wasn't, he was fine. But it did reveal to us that Beatrice actually does kind of care about him a little bit, maybe. And then this character, Ange, came along, called herself Gretel, I believe, a different name, said, oh no, I'm not who you think I am to Battler, even though he had a pretty good idea of who she is, and basically said, I will help you. Then we got the reveal that was at the end of 3. Never mind, I'm getting, because we played 2 episodes last time, I'm getting mixed up. Basically, we got some background on this character. She's had a pretty rough life. She's been mostly on her own. Had to deal with basically abuse and bullying abuse from her aunt, Ava, who isolated her on purpose and was just kind of a terrible person to her. So she's all alone, doesn't really have any friends, except for Maria, who she's been talking to through a book. And Maria is dead. And that's kind of it so far. Yeah. It was mostly background on Ange and Maria and their friendship and the things they sort of talk to each other about. And I say talk with big quote marks. Because they, Maria is not alive. But that should be it. That should catch you right up. Okay. All of the newest machines for presentations were installed there. But they didn't upset its refined and composed atmosphere. And that alone was enough to make the business-like theme of the room abundantly clear. However, that didn't matter at all to Ange. She carelessly sat on a high-class chair that executives making a salary of several 10 million yen probably sat in, looking aloof from the world. It's because I knew they were remodeling on the lower floor and had a safety net out. Ange talked about it like it was no big deal, but in reality, it had been a miracle among miracles. To think that she'd shot through several layers of safety netting for the remodeling project, been caught in a multicolored banner adorning the atrium, and slipped off, only to be softly caught by a final banner, land on the ground without a scratch, and then briskly leave that place. It put Hong Kong movies to shame. Did I mention the part where she jumped off a building? She jumped off a building. Whether you knew there was a net or not, this is a 200-meter tall super skyscraper we're talking about, right? If things hadn't gone as you planned, there'd be a mess to deal with now. I figured that if I died, then I'd be dead, and that would be that, more or less. Oh, still, I was testing my luck a bit. Call it youthful zeal. As though saying that she'd had enough of that topic, Ange shrugged coldly. Seeing that, the old gentleman, who was looking at the world below through a crack in the blinds, cackled. So, you were testing your luck, is that it? My, you truly are Kinzo-san's grandchild. The nerve to trust your life to chance. The chairman was also a woman who could stake her life on a bet like it was nothing, so maybe this really is the Ushiramiya blood at work. You really will make it big in the future. Please, let me be blunt. Why not give up this running away from home act and return to the Sumadera family? I heard that Mom had a bad relationship with her family. I don't want to go to the house of people I first met at a funeral. The Sumaderas are Mom's family. They're an old family from Kyoto, and compared to Mom's frank attitude, unbelievably strict. The only Sumadera I'd been on good terms with was Grandpa, who was living apart from his family under the guise of retirement. Mom kept in touch with him too, but she avoided the rest of the family completely, almost hostilely so. So when I went out to play with the Sumadera family, it was always Grandpa's house I visited. When I was young, I didn't really understand it. But I hear that Grandpa was in an extremely weak position, as a man who'd moved into his wife's family register, and his relationship with Grandma was also bad. You might even say that Grandma hated him and confined him to the house. It isn't hard to imagine that, because she had a soft spot for Grandpa alone, Mom was also hated by the Sumaderas. Since I was her daughter, they probably hated me quite a bit too. And yet, they appeared for the first time at Mom's funeral, shamelessly going on about how big I'd gotten, like they could actually act like family after all this time. When Aunt Ava died, I would inherit all the wealth of the Ushiramiya family. If that wasn't what they were after, there's no way they would have been able to say such disgusting words. Well, it's not as though I can't understand your desire for self-abandonment, now that you're all alone. This isn't self-abandonment. I'm just taking a carefree stroll now that annoying Aunt Ava has finally kicked the bucket. Everyone else is just making too big a deal out of it. Of course, everyone's after the vast Ushiromiya wealth I bear. They must think that becoming my guardian means they'll be able to do as they please with that wealth. Just how many people have tried to get close to me, acting like they want to be a substitute parent? If you ever find that you're hurting, please talk with me if it will help, okay? After all, I think of you as my own grandchild, Ange-chan. I'll say no thank you for now. More importantly, let's return to what we were talking about. Ange-chan, no matter how many times you ask, I am hiding nothing. The chairman was the only survivor on Rokujima that day, and she passed away without saying anything. I myself know nothing. Everything is wrapped in darkness, you see. This old gentleman was one of those leaders who had been entrusted with the business group Ava had built up after she passed away. The one he called chairman was the former chairman, Ushiromiya Ava. His company once had friendly ties with Hideyoshi's business, and it had a close relationship with both Hideyoshi and Ava. Hey Jester, welcome to the stream. How you doing? For that reason, when Ava lost Hideyoshi, he became the only person to whom Ava might have let her true intentions slip. Whenever Ava's heart was torn by the loss of her family, whenever she took it out on Ange, he had acted as a buffer between the two. So although Ange didn't trust him, she found him a very easy person to question. Face full of bug bites? Oh no, I'm sorry. Same here actually. It's not that bad, but I have a couple. I'm doing good otherwise. But yeah, I hope they go away soon. That crime was... no, that accident. If I call it a crime, I'll get in trouble. I had the same questions about it as the public and the talk shows. At the time of the accident, why was Aunt Ava in a place 2 kilometers away from the mansion, all alone? And on the night of a storm. Back then, Kinzo-san was unsure as to whom he should select to be his successor. Officially, he had decided on his son, Krausan, but he didn't have much trust in that man. So, to fairly determine a successor from among the 4 siblings, he made this game-like test called the Riddle of the Epitaph. Ostensibly, yes. Kinzo-san probably planned to make Ava-san the successor from the beginning. He wanted to withdraw his own rule that the eldest son be the successor, and instead of Krausan, leave the family to the extremely diligent and brilliant Ava-san. The new rule about giving the inheritance to the one who solved the epitaph was probably nothing more than a farce to snatch the position of successor away from Krausan. What do you mean by farce? There was no need for anyone to solve that epitaph. Once it had been displayed for an appropriate amount of time, Kinzo-san could just call Ava-san, whom he truly wanted to succeed him, and give her the answer. In other words, that itself would provide proof of her succession to the headship. This isn't something they've brought up on the talk shows, is it? Well, once you bring up the succession of the headship, conspiracy theories tend to rise to the surface. I'm no fool myself. I won't go out of my way to say things that could invite misunderstandings, you see. This was his theory. At that time, the Ushiromiya family head, Kinzo, whose remaining life was announced to be short, was troubled by the problem of who was to succeed him. Normally, the successor would be fixed as the oldest son, Kraus, whom Kinzo had chosen himself. But in his later years, Kinzo began to think that Ava would make a more fitting family head. However, Kinzo, who was stubborn even against himself, was stymied by the title of successor that he'd already given to Kraus, and he'd searched he'd searched for an official stance by which he could skip over Kraus and select Eva as his successor. That official stance was the riddle of the epitaph. The primary successor was still Kraus, but there was a new rule, saying that if someone appeared who could solve the riddle, they would be chosen as the successor to the headship. Then, on what would probably be his final family conference, Kinzo told Eva the answer to that riddle himself. In short, it was the same as proclaiming that Eva herself was the successor. On that day, Eva-san was summoned by Kinzo-san, who revealed the answer to her. And so that she could succeed the headship, he called Eva-san to the hidden mansion Kuadorian, which only the head knew about. And because Aunt Eva arrived at the hidden mansion one step ahead, she escaped harm in that accident, you say? Maybe Aunt Eva just killed everyone and made it look like an accident, so she could steal all of the wealth herself. And maybe that's why only she escaped unharmed. Well, that's what the papers are shouting about. However, I believe Eva-san. I'd say there are several points that justify trusting her. For example, that ring of the Uchinomiya family head, which is on your finger now, Ange-chan. That ring is the only one of its kind in the world, which Kinzo-san had made specially. And the artisan who made it acknowledges that the object on your finger is without a doubt that ring. The Uchinomiya family head's ring. That ring, with the heft of gold and the one-winged seal on it, had a diamond arranged on a pedestal, and felt both sturdy and reminiscent of the dark hobbies of the rich. Kinzo had worn that on his finger without removing it, even for a moment. This man was saying that the fact Eva had it proved that Kinzo had acknowledged her as the successor. After all, Eva-san certainly did have that ring. And if you take into consideration that Eva-san actually was talented and that Kraus-san had made a fool of himself several times on the business scene, I cannot imagine that Eva-san's story is completely made up. Although there's the possibility that she murdered grandfather in order to steal that ring. Then Aunt Eva, using some kind of trick, massacred everyone and made it look like an accident. Yes. It seems that the papers were saying something about her massacring everyone, with keeping all the wealth to herself as a goal. True, Eva-san was a person capable of holding back nothing when she was determined to accomplish something. Or she may have committed murder just once in her life, if a chance for keeping all the Uchinomiya family wealth for herself presented itself. However, I don't think that happened. So, what's the second point that justifies your trust in her? Eva-san's family. Hideyoshi-san and George-kun. It might be difficult for you to believe all of a sudden, Ange-chan, but Eva-san was a person who treasured family greatly. True, part of me didn't want to believe it or acknowledge it, but I did understand vaguely. Aunt Eva certainly had been a person who highly treasured her family. After all, the root of her twisted personality had been nothing more than the sadness of losing her beloved husband and son. After getting hit with her angry outburst as she tried to distract herself from that pain, I have no feelings of sympathy at all. But it's not like I can't imagine how the incredible shock of losing her whole family must have changed her character. You're saying there's no way Aunt Eva, who loved her family, would throw away her husband and son. That's right. Even if Eva-san really was the culprit and massacred the entire family, making it look like an accident, she most certainly would have spared her husband and son. She would quibble that, by coincidence, only her family had been in the hidden mansion. If Hideyoshi-san and George-kun had been safe, even I would probably suspect Eva-san. I truly cannot imagine that Eva-san's wailing at Hideyoshi-san's funeral was an act. Sounds like both points so far are just circumstantial evidence. That isn't the same as physically proving Aunt Ava's innocence. If you say that, then you're stuck right away. Eva-san was the only survivor. And she says that this is the truth. But no one can prove her innocence. Yes, that's right. And no one can prove that she committed a crime either. And the final point that justifies trusting her is the police. After all, it was such a flashy crime. The police were being pushed forward by a public in an uproar over conspiracy theories, so they must have investigated Eva-san thoroughly. It was easy to feel something unnatural about the claim that Eva had avoided the accident by coincidence, because she alone had escaped to a hidden mansion. Furthermore, at the time, Hideyoshi's company had been right in the middle of a takeover struggle, and in order to buy off the big stockholders, she'd wanted a large sum of cash. It shouldn't be too hard to find a motive there. But as a matter of fact, there had been nothing at all that implicated Eva as she went to the family conference. Nothing unnatural was found on her that could have been used to brutally murder her family and make it look like an accident. The servants who escaped harm by being off duty on that day also stated that they hadn't seen anything strange regarding anyone related to the event, Eva included. Putting all of that together, it could only be concluded that Ushinomiya Eva had headed to Tokonjima for a normal family conference without any change, and had encountered an accident. The police looked so intensely, and they still couldn't find evidence that it was a crime. They reached that conclusion themselves. Doesn't this resolve the Tokonjima suspicion? I'm gonna drink some water, damn. There's a lot of S's in all these sentences. It's tripping me up for some reason. Talking is hard. That just means that the police couldn't find evidence that it was a crime, right? There's nothing I could say to counter that. It becomes the devil's proof. To expose it as a crime, you would simply need to find evidence. But what could you possibly find to prove her innocence? It's impossible to prove a negative fact. Did Aunt Eva commit a crime, or did she not? Because we can't find any materials that'll let us say for sure, the truth will remain a mystery. That's what you're saying, right? That's it. Phrased in a manner you would prefer, that's what it amounts to. On that island, an unfortunate accident occurred, and Eva-san survived by chance. And we don't know any more than that. In short, it all comes down to whether you believe the story of the only survivor, Eva-san, or not. I believed. The ring and her praiseworthy love for her family, and the tears she shed at the funeral. Taking all of that into consideration, I decided to believe her story. But I don't believe. If she wanted to steal the ring, there were probably many ways for her to do it, and no one knows if her relationship with her family really was that good. No one can prove that tears at a funeral are real. Anyway, I hated Aunt Eva from the very beginning, so I don't even want to believe her. How does one view the truth of the crime? You and I are on completely opposing sides. Even though the information we are given is exactly the same, we interpret it in completely different ways. This happens often in politics and business. The exact same enterprise will always be assessed in multiple differing ways. Do you know why? Why? It's a question of whether one has love. Whether you feel love for someone or not completely changes how you view them. If a person you like gives to the poor, you respect them for it, right? But if someone you hate starts donating, you fiercely protest that it's a publicity stunt or that they're handing out favors. no matter what they do or don't do. You thank them if you have love, and you criticize them if you don't. That's how the world works. Can Aunt Ava be trusted, or can't she? You're saying that's all that really matters? Those who don't suspect her will probably take anything she does or doesn't do and truly see it as something unnatural. And it works in reverse. As for me, I think that, barring certain extreme cases, truth might not exist in this world at all. No, even if truth does exist, whether you believe it or not is determined by whether you have love or not. Can you really call truth without certainty truth? Even if Eva-san had been able to show physical proof that she had an alibi, would you have been able to believe it? It's hard to counter that. I hate Aunt Ava, so I'll probably deny any information beneficial to her, and interpret any neutral information in a negative way. In other words, the truth is already decided inside me. So just what in the world is this truth that I'm still searching for, unsatisfied? That's how it is. So no matter what you hear from me, since you still suspect Eva-san after all this time, nothing will change. At the very least, even if you were to grasp a piece of hitherto unknown information, I don't think you'd be able to reach the truth the way you are now. So I can't reach the truth? After all, no matter what kind of new information or proof you find, Ange-chan, it won't change your stance that Eva-san is the culprit, right? So it's pointless to investigate anything more. Because the truth inside of you is already decided. However, if you stop assuming that to be the truth, if you wish to struggle further towards the deeper, real truth, there's a single way. I believe I already mentioned it. But do you know what it is? Is it love? I don't really know what you mean. Right now, you're considering this under the assumption that Eva-san is their culprit. But that's no different than looking at something with a single eye. With one eye, no matter how much you squint, you cannot see an object in 3 dimensions, right? Can't confirm. As someone with only one functioning eye. That's why we have another eye. And of course, it's in a different position from the first eye. You're telling me to look at things based on the supposition that Aunt Ava isn't the culprit, or else that it was a real accident? Yes, that's correct. When thinking about anything, you should always try to look at it from different perspectives. If you don't, you won't understand anything about what is real. It's the same with newspapers. You can't see anything from the single viewpoint of a writer who wrote an article in a single newspaper. Sometimes you can only process information composedly and in 3 dimensions when you read multiple newspapers. Without love, the truth cannot be seen. Sounds nice. Maybe he thought it interesting that such a flashy phrase would pop out of his mouth. For a while he laughed, looking pleased. At the same time, he was telling me that he'd said everything he knew, and that it was about time to leave. I understood that and got to my feet. I do understand your feelings, Ange-chan. You should do as you like for a while, until you're satisfied. You were 6 years old at the time. I understand how you must feel after losing your family before you could even understand what that meant, and how you must still be unable to sort out your heart. You may learn the truth, and you may not. Eva-san might be the culprit, and she may be a victim. I pray that you find the truth you believe in, Ange-chan. A journey at such a young age may prove to be a valuable experience. Thank you very much. I'm truly sorry to be such a bother when you're so busy, Okonogi-san. trouble, no trouble. What are you going to do now? Well, whatever works. I've made appointments with several specialists and people related to the crime, and I plan to go visit them. I see. I hope you can find an answer you can accept. What happens when you send the entire Wikipedia by telecopy? The machine on the other end is gonna spit some facts. Oh wow. Oh wow. That's a gem. I did not see that before, no. Thank you for sending that. That's for sharing that again with everyone. It's beautiful. Good work. Okay. Oh my god, vape. What do you call a detective reptile with a cool jacket? Investigator. Oh my god. See, I told you that you would level up from the vaccine. And you did, damn. If certain horde animal picks on someone with not telling the truth, is it bullying? Wait, one more? What? Oh, okay, okay. Still, that's a lot. Hold on, I'm gonna break my... I want to adjust my lighting real quick. So I'm gonna break the tracking. It's gonna look weird. It didn't actually look that weird. Yeah, I understand, Jester, because same, I don't like puns at all, but, I don't know, I'm warming up to him. These are pretty good. Or at least, and no, well, they're entertaining. Ah, okay. Changing the lighting fixed, the tracking a little bit, so that's good. Now I can keep my eyes open. Hell yeah. You'd love to see it. Or to see things in general, because your avatar's eyes are open. Alright, back to the story. At that time, company president Okonogi's secretary came in, handing him a memo over his shoulder. Yeah, exactly. Although, I will say these puns are actually, like, I actually enjoyed all these. And normally punches make me cringe, but Vape's actually good at them, so that helps. He read it, then he looked between it and my face. Ange-chan, my apologies that this comes right after telling you to try going on a journey, but I have some information that you should lend an ear to. It looks like you're in a bit of a nasty fix right now. People after my money? This is why money's stupid. Yes, but if you sell off all of the wealth, trying to donate the whole sum to the public welfare, you'll make the eyes pop out of those people optimistic about their chances with your fortune. I think I read that entire sentence wrong. I'm not gonna redo it though. Oh, Sumadera family. Those guys act so proud, like they're my guards or something. I haven't forgotten Aunt Ava. There's no way I'll put myself in the care of the Sumadera family. They probably want to, as Ava often threatened in the past. cut off my arms and legs, throw me in a warehouse, and suck the Ushiramiya family's wealth dry. Apparently, a messenger from the Sumadera family is coming here. They're saying to hand you over. No, that they want to protect you. A messenger, you say? It's your aunt, Kiri-san's younger sister. I believe she told me earlier that she thinks of you as a little sister. She's gotta be joking. At least call me a granddaughter, you old hag. Judging from the context, it seems they have no wish to listen to your desires. I have a car waiting in the parking lot, 2 stories underground. Go. The Sumadera family is telling you to hand me over. Is it really okay to let me go? You will definitely become something big in the future, Ange-chan. Let us call this a favor to be repaid upon your success. Go, quickly. After bowing silently and deeply, Ange left that place at a dash. After watching her leave, the female secretary straightened her glasses and whispered, "The Sumadera family told us to stall her. Is it really alright to let her go?" We did stall her. More than enough. If they still don't make it in time, that's their own fault. I told Ange-chan to make a run for it. I informed the Sumaderas that Ange-chan would be coming. Whether she's caught or not, I will not be blamed. Everything in this world is love, you see. Don't worry, she'll escape. After all, that child's capable of leaping off a building to shake pursuers. Okonogi looked down again through a crack in the blinds, muttering, "Nope, definitely couldn't do it." Ange wasn't a fool herself. She got off the elevator, but on the 3rd floor. A taxi in the 2nd level of the basement? It's so neat and clean that I don't like it. It's probably better to refuse for now. But my enemies aren't fools either. They're probably waiting in the 1st floor lobby, as well as the underground parking lot. It's such a massive building. Instead of getting anxious and escaping outside, maybe it's better to stay inside and wait it out. No, that's useless. If they get their hands on the security room in a modern building like this, I'll have nowhere to run to. This entire building is like a massive dead end. The 3rd floor is the business floor. A young girl like me will clearly stick out. Trying not to stand out any more than I had to, I walked at a brisk pace, searching for an emergency exit. It'd be perfect if that staircase was an outside one. I found the door to the emergency exit. After opening that heavy door, I found the outside staircase I'd hoped for. I bumped into a man who looked like an employee skipping work and smoking a cigarette. After glaring at me, he quickly crushed out his cigarette and went away. It looked like there was no one below. If I'm gonna escape, now's my only chance. Just when I thought that, a black car slid right under me and came to a sudden stop with an incredible squealing of the tires. Judging by the sound of tires, it seemed they had several other allies, and that one of them had come here to block this path. Not bad, Aunt Kasumi. To think you'd even send a car to pick up your little sister when she's trying to get out through the emergency exit. Bam, bam. The doors of the car were forcefully opened and 3 black-suited men jumped out, looking up at the emergency staircase. Crap, our eyes met. 12. Target found. Northwest side emergency stairs. 3rd floor, send support. Ange-sama, try not to move from there. Forgive our roughness. The 3 of them began to clamber up the emergency exit. They've already announced that they plan to be rough. This is pretty bad. As long as I don't stop breathing, they've probably been ordered to grab me no matter what, even if they've got to rip out one of my arms. Clink, 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 clink. Their heavy, wild footsteps became a helix and began to rise from the lower floors, getting closer. In the entrance lobby of the building, a woman with 7 black-suited guards behind her advanced at a leisurely pace. Seeing this ostentatious entrance, The security guards for the building ran up to them, asking if they had an appointment. How typical of Tokyo people. Don't you understand the status of the person you were talking to without her having to say her name? My apologies. At our company, guests are to take a secured... Back down, scum. I came because I was called by our president. Call Okonogi Tetsurou here. To think he would call me here and then not welcome me. How typical of Tokyo people. My apologies. Welcome to the Ushiramiya Group. Sumadera Kasumi-san. With his secretary behind him, Okonogi dashingly appeared from the elevator. Even though both of them wore bold smiles, they were wrapped in a tension reminiscent of the smell of gunpowder. Where is Ange? I came to greet that adorable daughter of my big sisters. Strict observance of time is our motto here at the Ushiramiya Group. The former chairman herself said that those who can't keep time can't keep contracts. You called me all the way to Tokyo, and this is all you have to show for it. You let her go, didn't you? Please, she escaped from us. We did stall her for quite some time, but unsurprisingly, she did eventually smell a rat. Of course, this wouldn't have been a problem at all if you had arrived on time, Sumadera-san. These provincials and their loose concept of time. What was that? What did you say to me? You couldn't sense any of Kiria's open frankness in Kasumi's face. She wore the arrogance of the ancient Sumadera family towards the ruined Ushiramiya family, as well as pride, because she didn't want anyone to notice that her family was declining so much that they couldn't ignore the Ushiramiya family's wealth. Even at a glance, it was easy to understand why Ange hated her aunt so deeply. She couldn't stand even a slight insult, and though she still smiled, her eyebrow twitched. At that time, the black-suited man behind Kasumi whispered to her. Ange-sama has been found. We are currently dealing with her. Oh, I'm glad we made it in time. Thank you, Okonogi. It seems I can finally take my mischievous niece home. I've waited so long to talk with that girl in my tea room, with all of the tools prepared. Clink, 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 clink. As the violent sound drew a helix, it rushed up at me from below, threatening to swallow me up. Of course, even if I fight, there's no way I'll be able to win. And yet, running into the building would be like jumping into a dead end of my own accord. My enemies will increase in number with time. If I don't do something here and now, I won't have any more chances to escape. Then, 3 muscular black-suited men came into view below me. 1, 2, 3. 3 people. In other words, everyone who had gotten out of the car. If there had been just one of them, I might have been able to dropkick them or something and smash them in the head, which might work out. But it really would be impossible with 3 of them. Wait, 3? If there's just 3, I should be able to make it. I can do it. Take a deep breath. What? You idiot, stop! Look out! 01 calling 12. Is the package secure? We received a response. What happened? Respond. She's crazy, damn it. Ow, ow. See, that worked out perfectly, didn't it? There was just the 3 of them after all. I've already tried that once from a higher place. I knew I'd be able to jump down just 3 floors. It's a good thing the car they came in was right beneath me. Even if it wasn't as pleasant as a trampoline, it broke my fall. A little gently, a little roughly. How rude. You didn't have to dent that much. The roof of the car broke my fall, leaving a massive dent around my body. Car roofs are surprisingly delicate. I don't think it's because of my weight. Apparently, The 3 people on the stairs hadn't planned on me jumping down. It seemed they now realized that they'd been outwitted, and they were rushing down the stairs. I've gotta run and escape while I have the chance. I moved my body, making clunking sounds on the car roof. But I'd been naive. Of course they wouldn't all rush up the stairs without leaving one person behind. There was one black-suited man left in the driver's seat of the car that had broken my fall. He stuck his head out the window, and when he realized what had fallen on him, he jumped out. In a rush, I jumped off the roof, but the black-suited man's reaction was really fast. Either there was a massive reward for capturing me, or there'd be some harsh punishment in store for them if they let me get away. 15, secure, secure! Ow, 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 ow. Ah, don't touch me like that, let go! I was mercilessly held down against the asphalt. I was being crushed face down, covered and pressed upon from above. It was a hold without a trace of elegance, but it was extremely practical and left me no room for resistance. I tried to push back with both hands, searching for a way to resist. But I was being pushed down solidly, and I couldn't even tear myself off the asphalt. Then another car came, squealing its tires as it slid to a sudden stop. Is it all over now? Good. The man that had been crushing me let out a sharp cry. He was yelling straight into my ear, making my left ear ring. What in the world? Along with the black suit guy, I fell with a thunk. After landing face up, the first thing I saw was an arm stuck out right in front of my eyes. Amakusa? What are you doing here? Let's talk about that after we've lost him. To the car, quickly, lady. Amakusa grabbed my arm, easily pulled me up, spinning me around with himself as the center of gravity. Just when I thought it was a little like a dance, he flung me through the open door into the driver's seat. He's so fucking cool. I climbed over the handbrake and slid into the passenger seat. Pushing me in, Amakusa also got into the driver's seat. Since we suddenly accelerated while I was still on all fours, I had to kick and struggle around on the chair for a while, like a turtle that's been flipped over. Amakusa checked the rear view mirror for cars in pursuit, but he flew into the artery of the big city without lowering his speed in the slightest. Hey Camel, welcome to the stream, how are you doing? We sewed our way between cars one after another. Hey Alex, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? I'm doing all right. I need another break for some water. It's reading is hard today. I'll say that much. I was on a roll last week and now I'm paying the price. Like a reading aloud karma. I don't know. Yeah, same as always. Well, that's better than it being worse than usual, I guess. But yes, hi, hello, welcome. I would explain, like, what the story is about on recap, but yeah, we're so far in the story at this point that I've given up on recapping. This is the 4th episode, so, you know. The 4th, like, arc. Like, book number 4, if this was a novel. Yeah. F for recaps. But I'm glad that you think it's entertaining, but also, get some sleep. Sleep is good too. It's not entertaining, but it's you know. I like sleep. I know not everybody likes sleep. Okay. Just like a chase scene in some action movie. I was shaken by this horrible driving and had trouble sitting back down. Are you hurt, lady? I'm fine. Humans are surprisingly durable. Next time I try to escape a downward moving elevator, I'll jump out a window instead. I guess our air dives are a hobby of yours, lady. Still, I'd recommend you grab a parachute next time. Sure, if I remember to do it after leaping. Cool. He smacked the steering wheel, guffawing. Need an explanation for this flippantly talking man? His name is Amakusa Juza, which is spelled with those characters. He was originally one of Aunt Ava's guards. Didn't she start to hate him because he chatted too much? He was much younger than the rest of the guards, but contrary to his outward flippancy, he'd hopped from the 1st Airborne of the JSDF to the French Foreign Legion. I can't read today, I swear. Placing himself in overseas private military companies and high-class security companies one after another, making for a pretty incredible and unique career. But I heard he deserted both the JSDF and the French Foreign Legion, and that he'll be arrested if he enters France again. Both these flippant episodes were very typical of him. The guards were sternly told not to chat with me unnecessarily. But he came and took a pass at me, didn't he? Aunt Ava was apparently particularly put off by that, and had supposedly dismissed him shortly before she died. It's been a while since I've heard that carefree tone. What happened after you got fired? I was coaching some people at Blackwater. When I came back to the country during my time off, President Okonogi offered me a high wage. So you deserted again? I wonder how a man like that could be useful for anything. Doesn't count as desertion as long as I come back by next week. I talked with them yesterday. I was told that some troublesome people might come to call on you, lady. Sorry that turned out to be exactly right. My name probably came up since I know you, and I've got lots of crazy experience. Thanks to you, it looks like I'm in for a happy vacation, plus some pocket money. So, Okonogi-san employed you as my guard? He probably wants to buy some gratitude from you, lady. After I got fired, I was indebted to President Okonogi in various ways. He's got some dirt on me here and there, and now I can't say no to him. Seems like getting indebted to an Okonogi-san can be pretty costly later on. So, where are you planning on taking me? Anywhere. I'm employed until the weekend. Anything after that'll cost you extra. How much per day? I'll take 50,000. Plus expenses. If you stop cracking jokes, I'll double it. The period of employment isn't fixed yet. It might take several weeks. That'll be tough. I'll have to call my boss to get an extension on my vacation. More than anything, I want to investigate that day. Oh, is this about Dokonjima? Exactly. What happened on that island 12 years ago? I want to investigate it with my own hands, to my satisfaction. Do you really expect to find anything new investigating something that old? True. But this is a journey for my own self-satisfaction. Once that's over, I'll just throw my hands up and go over to the Sumadera family. Didn't Aunt Kasumi say something about how she wanted to serve me some matcha? Maybe she'll serve me tea as I kneel on sharp wooden blocks, clutching stones or something. Damn, that sounds freaky. Sure does. My apologies. We lost sight of them. A single man thought to be an associate assisted in her escape. Judging by his possession of a stun gun and his driving skills, he's no amateur. I see. Thank you. What a shame, Okonogi. Shall I take this as your answer? Letting her get away was your blunder. It has nothing to do with me. I do wish to prepare some matcha for you as well in the near future. The next time you're in Kyoto, please stop by. I'm going. Oh, are you leaving already? I could offer you some chazuke first. With her back still facing Okonogi, she laughed softly, with an increasingly shrill and hateful tone, using that as a substitute for a sharp parting remark. Just as she stopped laughing, her features suddenly changed to look like a demon's. But because her back was facing him, Okonogi couldn't see that expression. Okonogi watched her go, laughing coolly. His secretary whispered over his shoulder. Are you sure about this? Milady Ange is our company's primary stockholder. If the Sumadera family becomes her guardian... I get it. But you know, we're the world-famous Ushinomiyas. We can't let them take us lightly. Still, it looks like that guy managed it pretty well. All that's left is to let Ange-chan do as she pleases. I'm counting on you, Amakusa. Kasumi-sama. The escaping car was a rental. The license plate they displayed was a fake. We're clearly dealing with a pro. They'll probably abandon the car. Pursuit will be difficult. Should we have the police chase them? Yes. Shall we have them search for our runaway daughter? They are getting paid with our taxes, so the police must be of some use every once in a while. When I left the mansion, I boldly told Mother to leave it to me, didn't I? Do you intend to embarrass me further? It looks like it might be better for me to serve some matcha for everyone at once, doesn't it? Our underground tea room is cramped. So you'll have to wait in line. No, we will search with everything we have. She really is a cute kid, just like Ne-san. Especially that way she freewheels and does as she pleases. Now I can't see anything but Ne-san. I'm truly looking forward to it. If only I could invite Ne-san's daughter to my tea room, right? Nope. Big nope. Very creepy. The Sumadera family sure moved quickly. Did Okonogi-san sell me out? You're joking. He's my client. If he sold you out, he wouldn't have hired me, right? I guess that's true. So that's why he got off the elevator at the 3rd floor. Him having a car waiting in the underground parking lot was just too convenient. I figured Okonogi-san sold me out. Though I guess by now, it's impossible to prove whether there was an ambush set up in the parking lot or not. I see. That poor president guy. Looks like you don't trust him a bit, lady. That car in the basement was mine. Huh? He was talking about you, Amakusa. I freaked when the elevator came and was empty. I wonder what would have happened by now if I hadn't been listening in on their radio. So, what's going on? If I'd obediently believed Okonogi-san and gone to the parking lot, there would have been no need for me to do that jump off the 3rd floor. Pretty much, yeah. Well, it turned out okay in the end. What the hell? If I hadn't suspected President Okonogi, I could have easily escaped without getting caught in a tough spot. President Okonogi might have sold me out. No, since paranoia told me that it was better to assume that he sold me out, I suppose and concluded that he sold me out. Because of my inability to believe in him, regardless of his truth, my truth became he sold me out. I thought back on President Okonogi's words. Can you really call truth without certainty truth? Truth can change completely depending on whether you have love or not. In the end, perhaps truth itself doesn't exist. there are as many interpreted truths as there are people who speak of the truth. If I can't accept something that fluid as truth, where does the truth that I really want to find exist? And is it something I'll be able to see with my eyes? Even if someone sticks the truth right there in front of me and says it's the truth, I might not be able to see it. Without love, it cannot be seen, huh? This fragment of yours is very lively. It doesn't bore me. You told me something. You commanded me to search for the truth of 12 years ago. But there's something I'm not getting. What's that? What is truth? There are as many truths as there are people. There are as many interpretations as there are people. And those can be twisted by opinions and changed indefinitely. Is truth really that unfixed and vague? That's right. Truth is unfixed. It can be like a particle or like a wave, and it can hold conflicting forms at the same time. You're free to believe that the cat in the box is alive or dead. But the truth is very delicate. It can change its appearance just by being observed. You're talking about stuff like Schrodinger's cat box? Nonsense. If you open the box, you learn the truth. Discussion about what happens before you open it is just an armchair theory. That's right. And yet, in order to deny that abstract theory, you need to open the box. It is impossible to negotiate any idea about the contents of a box that cannot be opened. This is what the truth is. As long as truth isn't denied, it keeps its form. That's right. As long as truth isn't observed, it keeps its form. In other words, if it isn't exposed, any reckless statement can suffice as truth. Yes, even if they contradict each other, endless ideas can exist as truth at the same time without being negated. So even something as screwed up as my family getting captured by the Dokonjima witch and shut up 12 years ago for all eternity can exist as truth as long as we don't know what happened 12 years ago. This witch called Beatrice forcibly made room for endless imaginings in the Dokonjima of 12 years ago, enveloping all of it inside a cat box. Everything inside the unopenable box is truth. That's right. We don't know what happened on that island, so it becomes endless. That's assuming no one opens it up. I just have to wrench it open. But that box was closed up 12 years ago and I don't even know where it is. Even if I visit Dokonjima, just what can I learn about what happened 12 years ago on that desolated island? Who knows? I wonder what you could learn. This is something that can only be done by the person who is able to walk around freely in the world of 1998, 12 years in the future. The final witch, Ange Beatrice. Beatrice's game board lasts 2 days, from October 4th, 1986 to the 5th. In other words, you're a piece who can move freely outside her game board. And even Beatrice cannot influence this future that lies outside the game board. If you say it like that, it sounds like I'm a pretty overpowered piece. The future of 12 years later in which you are placed certainly is distant. However, the further a piece is placed in the future, the stronger power it holds. I told you, didn't I? The truth changes its appearance when it is observed. Come to think of it, I heard something like that once. Even if one day, all of a sudden, a star in the constellation Centaurus were to explode, the light from that explosion would have to cross 4.4 light years, so it would take 4.5 years to reach the Earth. That's right. In other words, even if the sun in Centaurus has already died, people on Earth won't be able to perceive that fact for 4.5 years. Because no method of perception exists that is faster than the speed of light. When we learn that the sun in Centaurus has exploded, we Earth people will paint over our history of 4.5 years ago with a new truth. We will revise history with a new fact, that it exploded 4.5 years ago. However, for the 4.5 year period until we learn that, despite the fact that it has already died, the mistaken truth that the sun of Centaurus still exists will be able to exist as truth. The truth of the future wins against the truth of the past. That's right. By itself, the Rokkenjima accident gave rise to nothing but suspicion of a conspiracy involving Aunt Eva and the Ushinomiya family assets. But later on, it was dramatized and linked to the occult, and the conspiracy was painted over by the legend of the witch. Even though it was clambered over as a conspiracy at the time of the crime, later on, strange occult theories which claimed that it was the work of the witch ran rampant and began to paint over the truth of October 5th, 1986. The conspiracy theories will probably be forgotten over time, and only the more bizarre, impressive witch theory will continue to remain as superstition, eventually covering up the conspiracies. That's right. The false truth that exists before the light from an exploding star reaches Earth is almost like the conspiracy theory, which is a human theory. The wine bottle with the letter in it that drifted ashore several years later, the message bottle, painted over that theory and made things return to the occult theory, which is a witch's theory. That's right. A witch didn't exist during 1986. The witch took control of the Rokkenjima because she was observed several years later by us humans of the future, thanks to that message bottle. A small revision is necessary. The witch could have existed even during 1986, as one of many possibilities that can exist. Certainly. She disappeared if she were observed, so she curls up inside the cat box. That's what makes the message bottle so nasty. The witch tried to get out of the box. She made it so that she'd be observed, weeding out possibilities that conflicted with the witch theory. In other words, to make it impossible to negate her, she negated all possibilities other than the witch theory. What the hell? So in other words, Beatrice satisfied the devil's proof with a frontal attack. And that was part of the witch's plan from the beginning. The message bottle is information observed in the future after 1986. It cannot be observed by Beatrice or Battler. It can only be observed by Ange Beatrice. I really didn't want to investigate the message bottle. After all, reading that would be like listening to the witches say. I thought the witch theory was just a crazy fantasy, so I thought of it as nothing more than a waste of time. But Okonogi-san told me, you can see things in 3 dimensions with only one eye. You mean that while looking at it from the viewpoint of denying witches, you must also look at it from the viewpoint of accepting witches? That is a correct way of thinking. The number of viewpoints is like a denominator. If you have one viewpoint, the mystery in the numerator doesn't decrease in the slightest. However, the more your number of viewpoints increases, the more the mystery begins to be divided. I understand. There was a message bottle that washed up on a neighboring island several years after the crime. That passed into the hands of a dilettante. I made an appointment with him, just in case. I was able to hear Aunt Eva say from Okonogi-san. Next up is the witches say. Why don't I listen to Beatrice's say? Good question. think we're going to be getting the answer to that next week. Which, I know it's short. This is the shortest... Thank you, Lulu. I will drink water in a sec. This is going to be the shortest episode I've ever done so far, but that's okay. But this is a good stopping point, and yeah. Next week I will try to go a little longer, see if we can maybe do a three-hour stream or not. Because this is the longest episode or arc in the whole series. So it's either gonna take a long time, or I'm gonna have to do longer streams, or both, really. It's probably gonna be both. But yeah. Let me just end screen. There you go. Get some music for the outro. Does that work? Yes. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope it was fun. As always, I'm gonna post the video up on YouTube next week. And you can also catch up on the series there if you want. You can also do that here on Twitch in the highlights. I got a little playlist on both the YouTubes and the Twitch pages, and yeah, that's it. Honestly, talking is very hard today. I don't know why, but I appreciate you all so much for being here. These streams are always a lot of fun, even if I have to cut it short. And yeah, I just love the story a lot. I say that every week, and it remains true. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, day, week. Until next time, and sleep well. Bye-bye.